Hello YouTube, Redneck Reloader here. I'm making this as a follow-up video to the video I did last week, which was on my Lee um, Quick Deluxe trimmer, the Quick Trim Deluxe trimmer, and I broke it, broke a part on it. I got my part back, and I just wanted to show you guys what I was talking about, and also talk a little bit about the return process and stuff. So, as a quick recap, or if somebody didn't see the video for some reason, this is the Quick Trim Deluxe, and these blades are the blades that do the chamfer and deburr, and there's 3 of them, and they're spring loaded, and the way they work is the 2 outer blades, if you notice, they have a large slot in them, and it's the same size. Then this middle blade, the arrowhead shaped one, it has a smaller slot and then a larger hole at the end, and they fit down inside this groove, and they're spring loaded. So you go inside there, and it springs back out, and that hole you see right there, that goes all the way through, and there's a little pin that's retained in there. So what happens, you can see with this blade with the smaller slot and then the hole, when you put it in there, when you push it all the way in, that hole lines up with that hole, and you can push the pin through. And the pin has a groove in the middle of it, so after you get the pin halfway in, the groove will, the groove that's cut around the pin will fit inside that small groove on this blade, and at that point the spring pushes it back out, and then it can slide up and down in that groove, and that's what retains the pin in place. And that little pin broke. Actually, what happened initially was I was doing some trimming, and when you get the cuttings built up in there, you're supposed to take that and push it up against the edge of your workbench or something and work those blades back and forth so the cuttings can fall out. And I guess I had done that, and I must have had it turned up like this because just gravity let that pin fall out when I pushed those pins all the way in, and that little hole lined up with the pin. It just dropped out. So I was trying to recreate that on camera, and so I pushed them in, and I was it wasn't just falling out in the gravity, so I kind of tapped it on the bench, and the pin actually broke in half. And so I got my new pin from Lee, and wow, what a disappointment. So I definitely understand why it broke now. So here's the pin. Here's my receipt from Lee. And that is the pin right there. If I can get the camera to focus in on it. That big hunk that you see attached to it, yeah, that's a sprue plate from the injection molding machine. That pin is made out of plastic. So, wow, no shocker, it broke. So, I'm sure it's not the last time that thing's going to break. And I'm sorry, I'm just having I'm not the best camera guy. Having some focusing issues here. I guess it's just not going to focus on it. But it is a tiny, tiny little plastic pin. And that's what holds this whole thing together. And in that little slot in the middle, you've got 3, actually 2, 1. You got the one that rides in the middle, and the other 2 ride on the fatter part. That little tiny slot in the middle of that little tiny pin has this sharp steel blade riding up and down it constantly. So, man, what a piece of junk. And if you doubt me, there's the, see, it's still stapled to it. That's the description, molded parts, QT. $5. Now, I didn't pay for this. I'm going to put this together later off camera. I'm not going to try to put this little thing in now because I'm sure I'm going to end up losing that thing again if I try to do it on camera. But, man, I was disappointed with the quality. You know, I have some Lee products. I'm not a big Lee fan. I can tell you, if you watch me, you know I haven't been reloading long, but I set up some stuff here to show you. My first set of dies I bought were made by Redding. And since then, I've been a RCBS fanboy, okay? They make fantastic products, and I've been real happy with them. But I do have one Lee die. This is a taper crimp die. I actually have two. This is for my 45. I bought this because I was having some problems with those Redding dies not really crimping well. And I bought another one for 9mm. I actually bought it before I started loading 9mm because I found it used and found a really good price. And I figured, well, I'm needing this to get a good taper crimp on my 45. I'm probably going to need it for 9mm too. I'll just buy it while I have the chance. Well, then it turns out when I bought these RCBS dies for 9mm, I did not need that, so I've never ever used it. But I do have another one. But I've got a Lee scale, which I'm getting ready to use here in a little bit because I've got a bunch of brass there I'm going to load this morning. I've got a Lee powder funnel, and of course I bought the quicktrim deluxe. Up until now, I haven't had any problem with Lee, but holy crap, putting that little plastic pin in there to retain that, you're talking about an Achilles heel. What a piece of junk. But all that brass there, you see, is a little over 100 pieces there. I trimmed with this last week while I was waiting for this pin to come. This part works fine. It does a great job trimming the brass back. Very uniform cut, very uniform length. They just need to be chamfered and deburred. So I'm going to take all this I did already, and I'm going to run them back through after I put those blades in to chamfer and deburr them. But I know that pin is not going to last, and it's going to break again, and I sure as heck ain't going to pay $5 for it. So when it breaks again, I'm going to keep using this. I'm just going to use it like this, and I've ordered a little hand deburr and chamfering tool, and I'll just use it with it, and that's the way I'm going to approach things. But I am going to put these blades back together, and I am going to use it the way it is intended, as long as I can keep it going. But the warranty. So what Lee says on their website is they've got a satisfaction guarantee. They will warranty the product for 2 years after manufacture. And I saw somewhere else on the website, and I was looking again this morning. I had to go on their website to find their contact information and stuff before I called them. And I saw a note on there somewhere, but I couldn't find it again this morning. But I swear it said, we will replace the first part, but after that, it's on you. And I'm pretty sure I saw that on their website somewhere. I don't think I'm crazy. But it's not a bad warranty. And then they said if you have something older than 2 years, that they will replace or repair it if you send it back to them for half of the current retail price. So that's not a horrible warranty. It's acceptable, I guess. Now, my experience when I contacted them, actually there was a woman who answered the phone, and she is the one I dealt with the entire time. She was very knowledgeable. I thought she'd be a receptionist, but she must have been in the service department. She answered the phone. I explained, I had a warranty issue. I need some help. And she said, I can help you. And I told her what I needed, and boom, she was right on it. And she was very, very pleasant. We had a nice chat because I was on the phone for a while because she had to do a little hunting to make sure she had the right part number for this. But we kind of talked about how it had broken, and she was telling me she just had a guy the other day that had lost one. It fell out the same way mine did initially, and or so she said. I have a feeling he probably broke it. I don't think a lot of these are falling out. I think they usually break. But anyway, she could not have been more pleasant. She found the right part number and said, okay, We're going to send it out no charge. And then she said, we're supposed to charge shipping. But she said, since I didn't charge that guy the other day, I'm not going to charge you for shipping today. Which, it was nice. That was nice of her, and I appreciate that. So I did not pay any shipping on this. I got it. They sent it to me. No charge for the shipping. They had that, I was showing you on that invoice where it said $5. But actually, I guess I probably didn't scan down below that. It said, discount $5. So I didn't pay a dime. And the shipping was free and stuff. So, that was all great. And they were very pleasant about it. And so I can't really fault them for that. They did replace it for free, and they didn't give me a hard time about it. But it kind of rubbed me the wrong way there a little bit when she said, we're supposed to charge for shipping. Because I thought, well, heck, this is y'all's fault. I mean, these blades in here are sharp, and they're spring-loaded. When that thing broke, they kind of flew out across my bench. It's not real far, but they shot out a little bit. I mean, somebody could be injured with this. You think they would be jumping on this to fix this? And, we need to redesign this or something, not throwing this, you should be paying for shipping stuff on me. But I wasn't that impressed with Lee. They were okay. And like I said, their products, I use some of them, and I'm pretty happy with them. I'm not a big dye fan. I haven't used their dyes much, so I can't compare them much. I have used this one dye, and I guess I use a quicktrim dye, so that counts. One thing I say about their dyes, if you're not familiar with them, that I really do not like, is their ring does not lock. Every other dye I've got, this adjusting nut has a set screw of some type to lock it in place. These don't. They have a O-ring on the bottom, and if you screw the dye in and then you tighten the O-ring down, it will hold it setting. It doesn't drift or anything. The problem I have is if you want to set it, put it in the box, and then come back and reload again next week, you cannot lock it in because you've got to back the ring off in order to take it out. And that little O-ring with this dye here in particular, every time I use it, when I take it back out, that O-ring starts to creep out, and then I got to take a little screwdriver and go around and push that O-ring back down into place again, which is mildly annoying. So when you compare it to my other dyes, so here's one of my AR-15 dyes, or my 223 dyes, and you can see I've got it locked. It's in position. I just take this, screw it in my press, and load. I don't have to fiddle with the settings. Once you get the settings initially set where you want them and get it locked down. You can't not do that with the Lee dies because they don't have the locking ring. So unless I'm missing something. But anyhow, so I've told you about my warranty experience with Lee. Now let me tell you about my warranty experience with RCBS. They will fix anything. It doesn't have to be bought new. Because the whole thing with Lee is to say, okay, the warranty is for 2 years. Well, how do they know you had it for 2 years? You're going to have the receipt. You're going to have to show proof of purchase. Everything I've read online, everybody I've talked to in person, I'm in a couple of reloading forums that do a lot of discussion groups and stuff on the internet. They all talk about RCBS and how fantastic they are with their warranty. And they talk about like buying old presses and stuff at yard sales and RCBS warranting them and fixing them and stuff if they need repair. So I know that's a thing with RCBS. They're real good with that. Not so much from my personal experience, but just from conversations and stuff I've had. Now, I have had a couple of experiences with RCBS, and it's been great. One of them was on an old press, and I'll spin and show you. My RCBS Junior, and you can see it's the RCBS Junior 2. I'm pretty sure this press was made probably in the late 60s, and I was having a problem with the priming arm on it, and they replaced it. The part I needed, no questions asked, no mention of paying for shipping, just, yes sir, how can we help you? Boom, the part's on the way. Thank you for doing business with us. And that was it. So that was pretty impressive. It was a little tiny part. But, like I said, I hadn't bought from new. This was an old press that I bought used, and they could not have been nicer to work with. But one experience I did have, I'm going to clear these out of the way. I'm going to show you. When I had been loading pistol, when I decided to get into 223, I bought these dies. I was real happy with this. This is the RCBS. This is their specific AR die for loading for AR-15s. And I bought that. The very first time I used it, I messed up. And what I did was this stem. This is the stem that goes down the die for the resizing and decapping. I was screwing it in, trying to play with the amount of bell, and I went a little bit too far, overextended it, hit the bottom of the case, and I warped it. I don't know if you can see that when it rolls, it's bent. And it was actually been a lot worse than that. And I ended up breaking the decapping pin off, not at that point, but I broke it off later trying to straighten this a little bit. Because I ended up, I had to wait for this to come back, for RCBS to replace this. And I had a bunch of shells I wanted to load. And I went ahead and did them with this. I straightened this out the best I could, and it actually worked fine. I reloaded about 100 rounds with it, and they all fired fine. So anyway, I called RCBS. Actually, I didn't even call them. I emailed them, and I told them what had happened. It's totally my fault, total bonehead move, and I just asked them about replacing this, just the stem. This part was fine, and actually the decapping pin was fine at that point. I broke it later. They're like, no problem. We know exactly what you need. It's on its way. And they replaced this whole part, and they sent me 5 extra decapping pins along with it. Now, the new part that I received is actually in my die right now, so this is the one that I've been. I've just kind of kept it as a backup in case I need it for something. That was fantastic customer service. As I said, there was no mention of, well, you should really pay for shipping or any of that. It was just absolutely no questions asked. All I had to do was just send them an email and go, hey, guys, bonehead move. I messed this up. Can you guys replace it? And they're like, yep, at no charge, no problem. Here you go. So when I compare RCBS's customer service and their warranty to Lee's, it's really like night and day difference. And I understand that Hornaday and Lyman and Redding and they all have, Dillon and all have great warranties as well. I'm just not familiar with them because I've never had to use them. But just comparing Lee to RCBS, that was quite a bit of difference there. RCBS is definitely a better product. So as far as dies go, RCBS is my go-to now, and I've got another set of dies I'm going to be buying in the near future, and they are going to be RCBS dies. I'll still use some of the Lee products, of course. The scale is fine, and the powder funnel, things like that. But man, I am looking at eventually down the road buying a powder measure, and I had looked at the Lee, but now I don't know now, man. With their quality and that plastic part has really turned me off on them. I think I'll be looking at something else. But so that's my experience with the Quick Trim Deluxe. My suggestion, if you're interested in it, the Quick Trim part works great. I'm not so sold on the Deluxe part. I think if I had to redo over, I would just get a hand chamfer and deburr tool, and I would just buy the standard Quick Trim to trim my cases back and do burring and chamfering separate. So that's all I got today. Thank you. God bless.